And we are live. All you, brother.
Welcome back to Superherocuts. We got a lot to get to today. I'm sure everyone has seen New Avengers. Tonight, we are going to be talking Thunderbolts, aka New Avengers, reaction and review. New Avengers, Thunderbolts post-credit scenes. DCU movie Sergeant Rock being delayed. Chris Hemsworth started filming on Avengers Doomsday. Marvel Studios and their 10-year plan for the X-Men. Ryan Reynolds working on a Deadpool and X-Men team-up movie. Chris Claremont, plot leaks for Avengers Doomsday. Chris Claremont is the legendary X-Men writer, if you don't know, and why Logan is overrated. And we're going to revisit what could have been with the Kang Dynasty. How are you, Stevie?
Bro, feeling good, man. Happy to be back home. And I'm ready to pod, bro. Obviously, last week was a great week. Whenever there's a superhero movie coming out that we like, that we've been excited for, it's always super exciting to sit and watch. So, as I said, last week the Thunderbolts movie was finally released, and it's a big deal for the MCU, given the fact that this is one of the movies that is setting up Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. So, I obviously just want to hear your view on Thunderbolts. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What are some kind of staples from that film? And I just want to just nerd out about Thunderbolts for the next, however long.
I think it's fair to say it's a great movie. It's a great movie. The characters were awesome. The chemistry was amazing. I did not like the third act. I thought the third act was really weak. I did not like. I'm not a Sentry guy. I'm not gonna, all of a sudden everyone's like, oh my God, I love Sentry. That's not me. You know me. I'm not someone who gets influenced. I know what I like. I think a 7.5 is fair, Hungry. By the way, so my favorite person who comments on my stuff on Threads for months, this guy, Legendary Swag, all of a sudden he's like, oh, I forgot to say this on the pod. So I'm like, who are you on the pod? And I was like kind of driving, and I was like, I bet you it's Hungry. And it was Hungry.
That's fire.
How funny is that?
That's fire.
I love it. Yeah. So shout out to you, Hungry. But yeah, so I think a 7.5 is a fair number. I think it's a really good movie that kind of fell apart in the third act. But the third act was like, bro, everyone's talking about, oh, well, Kang was beaten by ants. Well, the Sentry was stopped by a hug. Okay. Like, let's call spade a spade here. Okay. So, but it was a good movie. It was a good movie. I also don't, I like that they're calling it New Avengers, but I don't. I like it because I think it's good for the MCU, and the MCU kind of needs that boost right now. But I just don't think it's going to have good implications on the comics, because the New Avengers have the thing about the New Avengers in the comics is that they've always been used at a time where Marvel really needed to differentiate from the regular Avengers. Avengers comics weren't really selling well. They kind of tried the Ultimates thing in the early to mid 2000s. And then they did the New Avengers after Avengers Disassembled with Brian Bendis. And it got really hot because Bendis was really hot at the time. And he's one of the most legendary writers ever. And that's where I was first introduced to Sentry. But you should know that New Avengers team is nothing like this. You're talking about who was on that New Avengers roster? I think it was like Spider-Man. Hold on. Wolverine. Just off those two names, you obviously can understand it's a much more A-list squad than Red Guardian and US Agent and Bucky. And not to say I don't like these characters, but they're. And then, they did the New Avengers with the Hickman saga, which is like, he obviously wanted to tell this super meta commentary story with a tighter Illuminati-like Avengers team. And now I feel like we're going to get a New Avengers run that's going to be a Thunderbolts type of team, you know. But listen, at the same time, we just saw an Avengers movie. Like, that's what it is, you know. So is this part of the Avengers cycle? I don't really consider it part of the Avengers cycle because it has nothing to do with that story. And I do want to talk about something else about that because, you know, I do think that it's interesting that they're going with the same run times again. It's back to the formula, the 2.5 hours for Doomsday and the 3 hours for Secret Wars. Like I always said, they want to copy the formula to have the same type of success that they had with Infinity War and Endgame. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Stevie, what did you think?
So I really did enjoy this movie, bro. I really did enjoy it. And there was nothing funnier. I yelped when Taskmaster got shot in the head. I laughed so hard. And I laughed because you and I talked about this and we were like, there's no way that they're just going to just take her out that quick. And the fact that they did, we talked about this months, bro, we talked about this months and we were just laughing like they would never do that. And the fact that they just yeeted her that fast, bro, was probably like I was laughing. Sorry. So I thought that was funny. But other than that, I mean, Yelena, Florence Pugh, she's a star. Man, she's a star. What a right move I put her in that spot, like next to really Bucky. I think her and Barnes were the stars of the show. And obviously Valentina. Oh my gosh, man, what a, you know, my new nickname for her is Evil Nick Fury now. after this movie, she was amazing. Yeah, right. She was amazing, bro. She was freaking amazing. And obviously she is a legend from Seinfeld, right? I'm sorry, what? Where's him, bro? Oh,
I was going to say I wouldn't be surprised if Valentina Allegra de Fontaine was originally inspired by Amanda Waller in the comics.
That is a great point. And honestly, what a great comparison. Definitely. Well, and I like how they're different personalities. Like Waller's super serious versus where Valentina's like kind of jokey. You know what I mean? But yeah, I loved her in this film. Now, I also loved. I mean, honestly, I enjoyed every character, and I also am happy that they didn't try to make Ghost like important because you and I were talking about like, how are you going to make Ghost and like
what made me think, why was she there?
Yeah. So the funny thing is like, so I went with a bunch of my friends who don't watch these films, and they were like Ghost Files, right? And they were saying that they were like Ghost is cool, but like they say her personality is so bland that I'm fine with just seeing her using her powers every 5 or 10. You know what I mean? And like, I just thought that was funny that, you know, someone would say that because the actress that plays Ghost is a very bland character. So if she is used again, I hope that they keep her at the same capacity because I do think her powers are cool. You know what I mean? So it didn't really bother me like I thought it was.
I think her powers are cool. I think her suits have been cool, but like, what is she really there for? I was glad that they killed Taskmaster. I got a Threads that's going ham right now, and you know, of course, I actually didn't get many people complaining about it, but I did get one person complaining, and it made me think. I really do think that I am proud, and I know people are going to lose their minds, but I don't care. I really believe this, and I don't think I just believe that. I think this is a fact. I am probably the most fair person when it comes to representation on the internet, and Stevie too. I think we are the most fair people when it comes to representation on the internet. We 100% are on board with it. We think it's important, but like the swaps are also ridiculous. You could have representation without doing things that you know are going to aggravate fans and not be conducive to the movie's success. And I think that that's a fair point to have. And that's why everyone was upset with Taskmaster. It's like ridiculous. And I love that actress. I think she's phenomenal. I really liked her as the Bond girl in Quantum of Solace. You know, she was great.
Yeah. And honestly, her as a Red Room agent would have been 10 times more fire than her as Taskmaster, in my opinion. Like, if she was one of the main Red Room agents, bro, come on. The one thing I also love, bro, I loved the filming locations were beautiful. I loved that little place in the desert where they were trying to burn all of the, you know, files that they didn't want the government to find. I really felt that they like sometimes in Marvel films we jump around like all around the world, and sometimes like it's certain characters where like I'm like, all right, I don't need to be all around the world. And so Thunderbolts as a movie to me felt very simplistic in its pacing and its plot, and I personally liked it. I really did like Sentry. I think this Lewis Pullman guy played Sentry perfectly. I think that was I think that was the best way someone could play it. I like the whole Bob thing. I also think, bro, they simplified the Void too. Like they really made it simple. And it was simple, but I still thought the Void was very creepy with how, his eyes aren't glowing, but you still see them. And then in the end, when Bob is beating the Void, he's like smiling and he's black with like white teeth. And I didn't, and it's funny because I didn't really think about it until Campia said that. And then I went back and because I've seen it like twice, I was like, that is a very interesting piece. I also think that this movie was very well balanced, and I think the movie just worked. And I also loved how Bucky was kind of like the OG, but like in the role. And I also love how like he came at the perfect time in the movie. I do think that if Bucky came and joined the team earlier, it would have felt too forced. But the fact that he was kind of in contact with what's her name? Valentina's, with her like assistant, she was good too. By the way, I thought she was great. So I was actually really I was really impressed, and I do agree. The ending doesn't necessarily bother me as much, but I do think that the whole hug thing was just anticlimactic because it's like they go through all of these, and one thing I do wish is like I wish that we got to see each character's perspective of when they went like in the Void, because my headcanon always thinks that Bucky's worst memory is the end of Civil War when Tony and Steve and Buck are fighting, and like how like you could have added a little more gravitas to that, like if we were able to see everyone's worst memory, because when I saw John Walker's, that really had me invested, you know what I mean? And then when it and then like what made it even crazier, bro, was like when he came back to I guess the world, like his foot was on that ledge, like he was finna jump off. It was, bro, that symbolism was crazy, bro.
He was great, and I think if they had Bucky in the beginning, everyone would have been focused on him and not the new team kind of meeting each other. It would have thrown that dynamic off, and it would have diminished the chemistry that they were building upon. By the way, you should know that so Valentina's assistant is not just a random character. Her name is Melissa Mel Gold, and she is actually another superhero, who's called Songbird. So potentially we'll see her take up that role in the future. There definitely seems like we are going to get a sequel to this movie. I think a lot of people, by the way, were kind of upset about the New Avengers being renamed because it's a spoiler. Like, yeah, I guess if you couldn't see it this weekend, but like Marvel had to do this because they know, and this is what I one of my other posts that went viral, what I was writing on is like, I think there was a big strategy behind this. Number one, obviously, sell more tickets to Thunderbolts. Number two, it incentivizes fans to go to Marvel movies on opening weekend. Something Nike has done really well over the years is trained their consumer how to behave when buying sneakers. Nike fans, they know they got to be on an app. They know they got to, whatever they got to do, they know how to do it. I think that's what Marvel is trying to do here. They want bigger opening weekends because that creates a lot more buzz in the industry. It does a lot more for them. The bigger the first weekend, it creates more hype for the second and the third, and it's a domino effect. So I think there's a big strategy behind this. And if you got it spoiled for you, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not saying sorry. I'll tell you that. And, to the people who are complaining about it's funny because I said to them, I was like, well, RDJ posted that it was called he posted and wrote New Avengers on Friday. So why don't you go comment on his post and reply to this comment with a screenshot? I'm waiting. And none of them, of course, but whatever. Listen, I think it's a good movie. It's a good win. I don't think it's amazing. I definitely think it's being a little overhyped, but that's how people are. And I think most people just aren't smart enough to realize that they're being influenced a little bit. Like, you could like a movie without being influenced. I don't know. Maybe not everyone's capable, whatever. But I think a lot of people are influenced. And I think people are like, the people who are saying that this is like the best MCU movie ever or in the top 5, I think it's crazy. It's a good movie. Like Hungry said, it's a 7.5. It is not it's not better than any of the Guardians movies. It's not better than Civil War or Winter Soldier, or it's not even better than No Way Home, or so I don't know. But listen, I liked it. I think it's cool. And I also think it's cool because now that especially in the post-credit, which I'll save a little more for what we're going to talk about, but this creates more interest for the dynamic between the new Avengers and the Avengers that we're going to see in Doomsday. Now fans have something to be bought into the story, and not just based on, the Patrick Stewart's coming back. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Number one, I want to give Marvel their flowers, Marvel Studios their flowers for this film. There was no political propaganda. There was no BS. And I just want to, we are not the people that complain and then don't mention when we see something that is actively trying to be fixed. We at least hope that it's trying to be fixed, but we are going to acknowledge when those things are done right. And I do think that a lot of the reason why this movie has seen $70 million I think in the opening weekend or that Thursday to Friday, it is because of the fact that they avoided all of that stuff, So I am happy that 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 people are talking about the actual product, the plots, the stories, and not all of the extra stuff that happens outside of it. I really think that helped this movie as well. And with the new Avengers thing, to me, it feels like a joke. You know what I mean? It just doesn't feel real. And so that is the other thing. So even with this title, to me, it seems like a joke. And we're going to talk about the post scenes, obviously, but yeah, to me, it just seemed like a complete joke. The way it happened, and then their faces. It reminds me of when
because
good. What you say?
Feels like New Avengers with a Z and not New Avengers with
S. It's like a joke. It's and they, and by the way, Red Guardian was freaking hilarious in the whole entire film. When yeah, bro, he was needed. And also I love him playing the father role, but when they were all tied up and then Bucky basically agreed for them all to fight, and then everyone agreed. He just yells, bro. I was dying, bro. He's so funny. Also, what made my theater jump was when the little girl got blipped in in a void. So remember when Red Guardian saves that girl and then she just vanishes in the void?
Yeah, that was
theater erupted, bro. Yeah, man, it was awesome. And look, I do want to give Sentry 5. Seeing Sentry in action was awesome. I'm not gonna lie. Seeing him kind of move things with his hands like it's the Force. Star Wars, take notes. My gosh, how is Marvel Studios using the Force better than you guys? But anyways, it was super awesome seeing him. I thought the costume was very interesting. I like I loved the capage, but it took some getting used to of the off yellows. Did you see how there was one shade that was darker than the other shade was light? It was kind of weird to me, but
on Sentry suit,
yeah, it was super weird. There were 2 different shades of gold. It was super weird.
I didn't notice it, but that's not the Red October Era Yeezy 2, for example, has multiple shades of red, and it looks really cool.
Oh yeah. But Sentry did look great though, man, and he beat the crap out of Thunderbolts, man. He beat the crap out of them. But not other than that, I think it was good, but I really want to get to the. I didn't even create this. Hold on 1 second, bro.
Also, I see people online being like, "Oh, Sentry could wash this or that." First of all, they're all fictional characters. Number one. Number two, like, even if Sentry could technically beat basically anyone, that doesn't make him a better character than Spider-Man or like
Well, bro,
some of his other characters.
people
So
now
it's like
think
a
he's
silly
gonna wash
argument.
Doom. So people love talking about it. Now. That's also Sentry's gonna
I
wash
know.
Doom and Doomsday.
And someone posted. So someone posted a page where they were like, "Oh, Sentry did beat Doom." Sentry never beat Doom. Sentry, along with the mighty Avengers, knocked Doom down for like a moment, but he didn't beat Doom. And it's like crazy because these are all the people who attack everyone else for being wrong all the time, and it's like they can't even get their own stuff right. It's unbelievable.
It's glazing to no degree. It's crazy. So,
Yeah.
gosh. All right, now we're gonna get to the end.
Which is why
Sorry, go ahead. My bad.
we might do it on this pod or we might do it next week, but we are going to get into the revisionist history taking place about Sentry because everyone is lying about Sentry right now. Okay. Sentry was divisive amongst fans from day one, and a lot of fans never liked him, including myself.
Ooh, can't wait to hear that, bro. Let's get it. All right, now we're going to get to the new Avengers credit scene. If you guys don't want to hear about it, please leave now and then come back in like 5 to 10 minutes. I warned you. So in the end credits, we're not going to talk about the first one with the cereal box, which was hilarious. But we're going to talk about that second one where they have the Avengers branding. So first off, Bucky's Avengers suit is flames. It's fire, bro. The new Avengers logo is awesome. It's freaking awesome. How did you like just the logos and all the suits and stuff? Like, were you into it? Like, I thought it was dope.
Yeah, I really like the brush metal on the new Avengers logo. It's fire. I love Bucky's suit. I love Bucky in this. By the way, it was great. Like seeing him pull his arm out of the dishwasher. That was hysterical. And just him as a congressman was like so real, And I think everyone could relate to having to read something for some kind of job and just being like, this is boring. And so, that was cool. But actually, maybe not everyone could relate, especially in the world we're in. But,
yeah, right.
That was cool. I also really liked Red Guardian's new Avengers suit. As funny as it was, I thought that was really that was just great. But the core of it is the fact that the Fantastic Four are coming to the. I hate how we don't really have an accurate number because I hate calling it the 616 because it's not the 616. I think it's the 1999, whatever, the MCU universe. And we don't, there's another thing people are saying. A lot of people are saying that this scene is the beginning of Avengers Doomsday, which is false because just because the Russos directed this scene doesn't mean it's the opening scene or any scene of Avengers Doomsday. They very simply could have just made the post-credit scene because they're working for Marvel and it's a big deal of a scene, okay? And that doesn't mean it's the opening scene of Doomsday. People are like so stupid. It's such an intellectually inferior take. Like you have to realize where the dots connect and where they don't. And if you can't, like maybe don't talk. But so here's the thing. I think that it was great because number one, it's going to sell more tickets than Fantastic Four. Now, everyone who saw Thunderbolts, who watched that post-credit scene, is more interested in Fantastic Four. But we know, and this is another thing, if that was the opening scene to Avengers Doomsday, but if Fantastic Four is in between, like that's a whole other thing. So that makes no sense. But we know that scene is not really where Fantastic Four begins because Fantastic Four begins in this alternate universe in the 60s. But what did you think of that scene?
I think that it was the perfect setup, as you said, for Fantastic Four. I mean, it couldn't have been better. With the score playing, I was bought in from the
You
start.
keep cutting in and out, by the way.
I am. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, like bad. So yeah, let me know when you're good, and I'll throw it back to you. Okay. So yeah, the Fantastic Four. We saw the ship. We saw that they're coming to the 616-1999, which is great. But now I really want to see what happens in between them because Fantastic Four, and that is my most anticipated movie of the year. I'm super excited for the Fantastic Four. I would love to see the Fantastic Four with the New Avengers. I don't know if we're going to see that during the Fantastic Four. I think that from what we saw in the trailer, really doesn't tell us much about the Fantastic Four being connected to the MCU main universe or the Avengers movie, Doomsday, or New Avengers. But we know there is going to be some connectivity, and they're obviously not going to show their cards like that in a trailer to the movie. You back, Stevie?
Yeah. I should be back now. You hear me now?
Cool. You're good. Yep.
All right, bet. That Fantastic Four trailer was perfect. The Fantastic Four, the show on the ship was perfect, and I agree. I was talking to some people about it as well. Some of just my friends, and I was telling like guys like at the end of Captain Marvel, right? We see her pop up at the compound, but we don't see that in Endgame. Like we see her going right to save Tony and Nebula. You know what I'm saying? So obviously, so I agree with everything that you said. I definitely don't think that is the beginning of Doomsday. I think Doomsday starts off with Doctor Doom, the same way Infinity War started off with Thor. Like no one I knew thought that Infinity War was going to start with like Thor on the ship. No one, at least like the casual fans that I knew, because I was kind of casual at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like no one really knew how it was going to start. So, and I do believe that Doomsday starts with Doctor Doom. Yeah, bro. Because like I mean, because sorry, what's him?
I was just gonna say I didn't think that, but now that you said it, I agree, and I think that.
Oh yeah, bro. Because like as a casual fan, when you see that big ship, you're like, I don't know what that is, but we'll see soon. You know what I mean? And then you just forget about it, because you get other films, And so yeah, bro, that bro, it was perfect. And I also am interested in the whole Sam and Bucky situation, because obviously they're at odds, because Sam Wilson obviously feels the responsibility of starting his Avengers team, and maybe he had Yelena and Buck and those people. Definitely not John. John Walker was not in his list. I can promise you that. But I can imagine Bucky and people like that were on his list. So and then they said Sam Wilson got the trademarks for the name, which I think is funny. I think it's so stupid. That imagine Captain America getting a trademark for a name. So I also wonder to see who's going to be on that team. Is that going to be where it's Spider-Man and maybe Murdoch or some of these other, like, I wonder who his Avengers team is going to be as well. So it's going to be, and that's the other thing too. A lot of fans are going to be bought into Bucky and Sam's relationship now. And
I always loved their relationship,
mm-hmm.
And I didn't think Bucky was going to show up in Captain America, and I didn't think it would be the right move to take the spotlight away from Sam, but I think they did it perfectly. But I think it's kind of funny now that Sam is like, Bucky was like, how did it go with Sam? Or did they ask him how it went with Sam? He's like, it went poorly.
Yeah, Sam definitely crashed out.
Yeah. For full context, guys, in the comics, the Fantastic Four, they're trademarked. They have a corporation, and Reed had admitted, I think this was in the Mark Waid run. Yeah, it was in the Mark Waid run. And in the Mark Waid run, Reed basically says that the reason he built the Fantastic Four into them being celebrities and having this big business is because he felt so guilty about what happened, especially with Ben and becoming a Rock and all that. So it's a little different, but I don't know. I could see Sam doing this because they're rebuilding the Avengers. They don't have Tony Stark to fund things. So it's kind of similar, you know, they still do need funds. I mean, I guess, you know, potentially they could be funded by the government, but I think they're better off being self-funded and not being funded by the government, just because if you're funded by the taxpayer, you have to answer to the taxpayer. And if you're, you know, funded by your own commercial interests, it's much better. And we all know the Avengers don't like having to answer to the government from Civil War.
Facts. By the way, Wade's Fantastic Four, and I've been trying to find the words to like put it.
Did you finish it?
Yes, because Wade's Fantastic Four is very different from Hickman's, and I finally found the word is the Fantastic Four are way more adventurous than in Hickman's. You know, because like with Hickman, there's just a clear path going on, and with Wade, it's like Wade was more into like just the adventure of it, you know, and it's a it's a really enjoyable. It kind of made me feel like I'm. This might sound like a crazy comparison, so please bear. But it felt like I was watching like Jumanji, about like how they're in this island and they're just adventuring around. That's kind of how it felt, and it brought like a Jurassic / Jumanji vibe to the Fantastic Four. Which and this is why, bro. And you said this a while ago, in our personal convos where you said something to the degree of like different writers bring out different sides of characters and different sides of teams. And it felt like I'm reading like a whole different version of the Fantastic Four, but not diverging away from who they are as characters. It just seems like they were in a different season of life. And just having both of those, having that Wade Fantastic Four and that Hickman Fantastic Four, it just really diversified my view. Yeah, it really widened my view of the Fantastic Four, and it really gets me excited what they're going to do in the second and third and fourth Fantastic Four films as well, files as well. So,
by the way, and this is why like creators that are out there that barely read comics and they do it like as if it's homework versus listening to guys like us who do it because we love it, we're going to be able to give you much better guidance and insight on this because we have read pretty much all of the comics from all the major characters. So, you know, we didn't just read one writer's perspective and take, and you don't really get to fully know a character unless you've at least read all the trademark runs. Like if you haven't read Wade or Hickman, Fantastic Four, like that's like those are the modern runs you really got to read. But yeah, so you know, and different things happen, and also it's like a lot of it is the Marvel timeline and how does it fit into the context of Marvel. And you know, like there's another run, the JMS Fantastic Four run that takes place during Civil War, and it sees how the Fantastic Four were at odds with each other over each of their decisions on how they responded to the Registration Act and things like that. So, you know, you see different things from different writers and based on what was going on with Marvel Comics at the time. So that's a really cool thing. And like, I do it because I love it. That's why I read it. So, you know, when like someone finds out that Sentry is going to be a character in the comics, so they, you know, we're like, oh, you know, I also feel like some people pick their favorite superheroes because they feel like that superhero would sound like a cooler favorite. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't like if someone told me before this movie came out that Sentry is their favorite superhero, I would say you probably are saying that because you know he's going to be in the Thunderbolts movie and you want to sound like different. You know, that's like, I'll just tell you, my favorite superheroes are Batman, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Fantastic Four, Captain America. You know, and then those are because the ones I like the most. I'm not trying to sound different. You know, if I'm different because I'm different, that's what I am. But I'm not going to try to be something because I think others will think it's cool. I don't need other people's validation like that.
Exactly. All right. Let's see some chats for here. Our next topic here. Thunderbolts global box office. Total run prediction 450 to 500 million. That is a bold statement on your part, bro. Very, very bold statement.
I think all of the predictions for this movie's box office are garbage. No offense to you, Kevin. And I know we always go back and forth, but I'm not saying this as a way to throw it in your face. I'm saying this because there is no precedent for a movie ever switching names in the middle of its run after its first weekend, especially to something that carries the weight of saying Avengers in the title. So I don't think, and no matter how good someone is at predicting box office numbers, they have no idea how this is going to play out because we've never seen anything like it.
I also would love if our community shifted box office talk until like after the run is over, because the one thing that I kind of been thinking about is like everyone cries over box office, but the reality is that whether if this movie did $1 billion or did 100 million or 200 million, this movie is still going to be a setup for Doomsday no matter what. You know what I mean? And so like sometimes we obsess over the box office, and I think there's a place to do that. But as creators, like the first question is, does this movie connect into Doomsday? Because the box office really does reflect, are they going to make a new Avengers 2 or a Thunderbolts 2? But right now, it doesn't matter what the box office is. This is linking into their big day, their big 2 films. So, I feel like sometimes we just get so obsessed over stuff like that. Like, yeah. Even with Superman, bro, a lot of people obsess saying, "Oh, Superman has to do $1 billion." It doesn't have to do $1 billion, bro. Superman has to be a good movie, and the fans have to love it first. That's what comes first, So yeah, like there definitely is a balance, though.
Yeah, Superman needs to do well. Probably needs to hit 500, but it doesn't need to do $1 billion. People are like, "Oh, it has to do $1 billion," but you have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, I would love for people to tell us why does it need to do $1 billion. But I think box office is important, but most of the people that are talking about box office have no concept of box office.
Yep. Some folks waiting for Thunderbolts and Captain America: Brave New World to come to Disney Plus.
That's stupid because I don't think I doubt Thunderbolts will come to Disney Plus before Fantastic Four, because usually I think the timetable is like 60 days until you could buy it digitally on like Apple TV and Amazon Prime and all that.
Yeah.
And then they say it's supposed to be another 30 days to go to Disney Plus. And I think that's like 30 days minimum. So we're looking at 90 days minimum that Thunderbolts goes to Disney Plus, and where it came out May 2nd. So you're talking the end of August. So if you're waiting for Thunderbolts to come on to Disney Plus and you want to do that because you want to see it before Fantastic Four, good luck. You're not going to get to see it before Fantastic Four.
I agree. And to be honest, I would love for them to hold all of these movies until after Secret. Like they're not because they want the money, but if they could hold all of them in theaters and not release until Secret, like Wars is over, I would be totally fine with that.
I would hate that.
I like the mystique of it, bro. I love the I like the mystique. Anyways,
I want to watch that on my Dolby system. Yeah,
that's fair. I give the movie a 7.5 out of 10. I gave it a 8.2. That was my ranking.
I agree with Hungry.
Sentry was actually my favorite part. Hopefully, we see more from
a lot of people saying that.
Bro, Lewis did a great job, bro.
By the way, he did a great job. And I don't like when you look at Steven Yeun. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. He was never going to deliver the way Lewis did. I actually had a thread about that, and because I posted the concept art, and someone commented, fair comment, not really, I just disagree. He was like, would have been cool to see an Asian actor in a role like that, since that's not normally seen. And I said, I'm all for representation, but race, you already know what I'm going to say because you've heard me say it a million times.
Yeah.
But like, that's the kind of stuff where it's like, why? Like, why? Yes. I get that representation is important, and I want to see representation too, but let's do it in a way that's not going to aggravate fans at the same time, so everyone can be happy and the movie could be the most successful.
By the way, Shang-Chi is like one of the greatest representation superhero films that we've ever gotten. I'll put that up with Black
Yeah,
Panther, bro. You know what I mean? Like that movie is amazing. I love Shang-Chi.
it's so good, and like most of the cast was Asian, so
Yeah,
it was
it was
awesome.
great.
And Aquafina, I hope she's back for the sequel. By the way, we need to see more of him because it's crazy that movie came out in like 2021 or 2022, and we haven't seen him since. He's a great new character. They need new characters that are strong the way he is, and he's nowhere to be seen. That's kind of like a dud.
Yeah, though I hope though that he's mastered these rings at this point because he could be a serious problem with those rings. He could be a serious
You
problem.
keep cutting in and out.
Oh my gosh, what is going on?
You're lagging, and your audio is going in and out.
I don't know what's going on today, guys. I'm sorry. Am I lagging now?
Talk one more time.
You hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna have to take a look at this after. But yeah. I totally forgot that Steven Yen was going to be in that movie. I totally forgot about that until you posted it.
They said Invincible like so many times throughout the movie.
Yeah, Invincible. What a great show. He could have been another good character in the MCU. I don't think he needed to be Sentry, bro. That like to me that's just extra. Like you're kind of doing too much at that point. And yes, he is a great actor. And yes, he could have portrayed Sentry well. But like Lewis Pullman, give him a chance, man. You know what I mean? I like giving actors a chance that haven't had their big break. Like it was cool to see him in the role.
Yeah, I see, and like I think like Kang, you could get away with a little more because the guy wears a blue mask. It's a little different. And Jonathan Majors was perfect for the role, and he's got so many different variants where, and I also think it was a little earlier where like they didn't do as many. At that point, they haven't had done as many swaps as they had at this point. Where now fans are just like, okay, it's kind of enough. But I don't think anyone was going to play Kang better than Jonathan Majors. And by the way, I think a lot of the Kang decision, I'm going to save that because we have Kang in the docket. But all
right, bet. We're going to zip through these joints and then we're going to get to our next topics. We got a nice little docket for you guys. Hopefully we get the real Taskmaster now after that Abomination. Right, yo, let's get him in Spider-Man 4. I'm calling for it. The only similarity between New Avengers comic versus the movie is Sentry. The New Avengers is the equivalent to the Justice League International. You guys are funny. If only Marvel did what they did to Taskmaster to Shia LaBeouf Surfer, bro, she might get edged out. She might get edged out in the end. Examples of good representation: T'Challa and Miles Morales. Examples of bad representation: Shia LaBeouf Surfer. Thank the Lord that they got Lewis Pullman as a more comic accurate looking Sentry and not Steven Yen. Now, if only Marvel did that with other characters. Yeah, bro. Steven Yen is also old, bro. You don't want somebody like that. I feel like Bucky should have had a bigger role and had Bucky and Sentry have a moment given how they were both essentially experimented on and are used as weapons. That's actually not a bad point. That would have been a beautiful moment. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the New Avengers title, but not because of spoilers. I have my own reasons. A lot of shield Marvel YouTubers are overhyping it, though, and sadly, as much as I liked it, box office wise, it's not looking good. Superherocuts, what is your thoughts on the Snyder Bros believing what Ben Affleck said, that there's a chance that he can come back as Batman and they are on the fringes?
I think Ben Affleck was just being nice in the moment, and he was like anything. I don't know if for full context, someone asked him about potentially returning as Batman, and it was at some kind of red carpet type event, and he was just like, anything's possible, and he literally turned around and walked away. So I think he was just being polite. Maybe by a long shot. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe he's going to be DCU Batman. No, I'm kidding. I doubt it. But as he said, anything's possible. No, right? I don't think that's happening.
Yeah. He's just leaving the door open in case they want to get the money.
He said he hated being Batman. He hated dealing with the superhero stuff. the suit. He hated everything about it.
Facts.
And he said that a number of times.
What if Doom steals Sentry's power? Maybe Sentry can be the molecule man for Doom. Let's not do that, please. No. I mean, it looks like Bob doesn't have the Sentry powers in the post credits. I think Bob does have the Sentry powers, but he said that. Well, he said that he just doesn't want to unlock it because of the fear of the void. You know what I'm saying? By the way, that ship is going to be Doctor Doom 100%, and not Fantastic Four when Doomsday starts. It's funny, bro, because Campio was saying that the same exact thing, but I do not believe that, bro. I don't. I don't know if you guys ever noticed this, and I might be reaching, but that Avengers Doomsday, the title card is green, signifying Doctor Doom, and then the Avengers Secret Wars is red and gold, signifying Iron Man. That's not a bad view. That's not a bad point. Yeah, Doom is probably going to steal the Fantastic Four ship at the end of the Fantastic Four and go to the MCU at the beginning of Doomsday. Why do you think Doom is going to what? Why do you think Doom is going to be in that Fantastic Four ship in Doomsday? That doesn't make sense to me. That'll be nuts. Jerry, does that make sense to you at all? Like, do you think Doom is in that ship? I don't see
in the Fantastic Four ship. No,
yeah, I don't see that
like
vision at all. Yeah. I mean, they played the score and everything. Will Bucky ever get more power because him against the other Avengers or even Doom make him less likely to win a fight? He probably will not get any more power, bro. Hear me out. But what if Doom kills the Fox X-Men at the end of Doomsday, and that Secret Wars we are introduced to is the rebooted X-Men that's going to be the main X-Men post Secret Wars? Possible. It will suck if they killed off the Fox X-Men and Doomsday instead of Secret Wars. I think they are getting yeeted in Doomsday. I've loved the Avengers disassembled run. Oh, disassembled run. Okay, bet. Shang-Chi and Black Panther are great movies because they are great. We need to stop making it about race or anything. Facts, bro. Marvel needs to make their timelines more simple to understand because it gets so confusing sometimes. I don't know how the general audiences will be able to understand the storyline and references. It's funny you say that, and honestly, we're just going to segue into a topic that we didn't have on the docket, but we're going to talk about it right now. So Jerry, I'll let you take the floor.
So I was literally just having ChatGPT sum up the article to get the main points for you guys, and I did that during the stream because I meant to do it before. But Wall Street Journal put out a big article on Marvel, and the article was Disney wanted more from Marvel. Now it wants less. And it was making the round. Everyone on social media that talks the business of Disney and Marvel was talking about it. And basically, the main points in the article were, number one, and we're going to go one by one. We're going to talk about each one, and then we're going to go to the next. So the first one, that Kevin Feige admitted that Marvel's output started feeling like homework for audiences. And with that, they are working to make Marvel movies not feel like homework and Marvel internally was referring to the MCU fandom as the No New Fans Club. So they want to make movies now that you could watch and understand without having watched previous Marvel movies. So a lot of thoughts about this. And Stevie and I spoke about this. And Stevie said it's a blessing and a curse. And I agree. But I think for us, it's a curse. I think for us as fans, this is a bad thing. I think Marvel needs to figure out how to bring in new fans and keep momentum and growth in their box office sales and in their business without betraying what made it so special to its core fans. Because we want the whole point of the Marvel movie, it's that it's connected to this big shared universe, and like, if you could watch a Marvel movie, an MCU movie, without knowing what happened before, that almost beats the point. What do you think, Stevie?
It's really a double-edged sword because I think that it's weird, bro, because I think that with the movies, you have to keep connectivity, right? Like you have to. And I still think they will, but with the X-Men and the Fantastic Four kind of going into the future, it makes sense why they're trying to I guess lessen the output, because I feel like maybe they're trying to make the Fantastic Four and the X-Men like from reading this, the way that I feel, I think the MCU is transitioning from solo movies to group films. And I think that we are going to be getting less solo movies and more groups happening throughout the MCU. So I think we could see the West Coast Avengers. I think we're going to see a little team in the whole Daredevil world, and I think that's going to be the future of the MCU. So that's kind of where I think is going, because they fumbled so bad with trying to manage each character that they might go to group stuff. So we might
we'll see more, group movies. I don't think it's going to be fully group movies, but I do agree that we're going to see more of that, and there's going to be a bigger focus, because it seems like whenever they do a group movie, it's a success. They've never put out a group movie and have it not done well. So that's a big thing, and that's throughout day one of the MCU to now. It's never happened. So
yeah, because
we got a couple of these.
Sorry, just real fast, because imagine how crazy it would have been if you just combined Brave New World and Thunderbolts into one film. Like, just the thought of that to me sounds insane. Just the thought of that to me sounds crazy. Now how would you make it work? I don't know, but I could see them saying, "Oh my gosh, I don't think this is going. I don't think either of these movies are going to be as successful as we want them to be. Let's just combine them." And I could totally see that happening behind the scenes.
They could. I don't think they could have combined it fully into one movie, but they could have probably had Sam's growth and establishing him as a leader in the Thunderbolts movie. I'm glad we got Brave New World. I like Brave New World, but I do understand that most people do look at it as an L for Marvel.
Yeah.
But I still like it, and I still think it did its job.
Same here. Great movie.
Yeah, great movie. And great character, great actor all around. All right, so we're going to move through these kind of quick because there's a couple of them, and we have other things on the docket. So Disney pushed Marvel to make too many shows and movies to feed Disney Plus. I think this is kind of connected to the last thing we said, and I think we agree. Listen, they put out too many shows that people really don't care about or like, and it seems like there's just like a small group of fans who are very loud about defending some of these shows online, kind of like the Acolyte. I know that there are a lot of fans, not a lot, but I've seen a couple of people on Threads starting to complain that Ironheart isn't getting marketing. And I think that Disney is probably just not confident in the show. It does seem like fans are trying to, say it's, a race thing. Stevie, you might be better to talk about that than I would, but I don't see it that way. I see they just put out Captain America, Brave New World. They did 2 Black Panther movies. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, we got to stop the race bait. Hashtag stop the race bait 2025, bro. That is my new hashtag. The actress, as much as I disliked her in Wakanda Forever, I think all the stuff for on her doesn't look bad in my opinion.
I agree.
And even though I didn't like her in Wakanda Forever, she did good. She did a good job. As much as it didn't.
I like
well for me. Like she acted great in the movie. So, but the issue is that you have a non-important character that fans don't care about. So that that's what you expect. This is another Echo situation where the show could be really good because Echo's a good show, but fans just don't care about it. And Deadpool and Wolverine should tell you that. You know what I'm saying? Because that movie doesn't have a lot of plot and it still did $1 billion. Why? Because fans love Deadpool and Wolverine. It's that simple. So, but I definitely agree. I believe 1,000% that Disney pushed them for sure because They did the same with Star Wars as well. And I think that's a part of the reason why Kathleen Kennedy has not brought a movie to theaters.
And they've put out a lot of shows. That's a great point about Star Wars. So the next one, the interconnected stories have overwhelmed and confused fans. We basically spoke on that one. Marvel is now cutting back on TV production. Same thing. The studio is also reworking its film slate to refocus and improve quality. And now this I want to talk about because Stevie hasn't said it. I've said it, that I think the course correction is a myth. And up until this Wall Street Journal article, I think maybe it was a myth. I think now it's true. And it's not in the ChatGPT, but I know because I've read some of the article before, is that Kevin Feige was spread too thin. It says in the article that a lot of directors and producers were going to Kevin Feige for advice, but they didn't hear back until weeks later when his advice was already too late to implement. In some instances, people were trying to chase him down in the hallways. He was simply spread too thin. And, he was still an executive producer on all of these, which I don't blame him for, of course. I would do the same thing. But at the same time, he's the head. It does fall on him, but it does go to show at the same time, who's above him is the execs at Disney, and they pushed for the expansion. They pushed for the Disney Plus expansion as well. They wanted more movies. They wanted Disney Plus. There were too many projects going on, and the quality just tanked. And, it's chickens came home to roost, or whatever the phrase is. And now, the course correction is going on, and it seems like they're going to be scaling it back. And I think this is a good thing. I wish it came sooner. I think it's kind of a shame that we're talking about this now at the end of phase 4, 5, and 6. We went through 3 phases before this happened. Like, that's crazy to me. But Stevie, what do you think? You're muted.
Unless the creator themselves are working on the project like a Robert Kirkman within Invincible or George Lucas doing Star Wars, these directors need to be heavily watched and they need to be heavily monitored. That's one of the reasons why Sergeant Rock got pushed back a year, because James Gunn just didn't have the bandwidth. You know what I mean? And shout out to him. Look, fans try to crap on him, but at least he's trying to keep his integrity in check. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to say Feige's he's a sly guy or whatever, but I just think that it is smart for him to be the monitor for a lot of these projects, and you can see which project Feige didn't put any input on. You can literally see. I mean, just watch She-Hulk. Watch the first 3 episodes of She-Hulk, and you guys tell me, did Feige actually work on that film? Just tell me.
It's so funny you say that, because I think I saw a tweet about the article, and someone was like, "Hey, Kevin, do you think it's a good idea to have She-Hulk twerking with Megan Thee Stallion?" No answer. Let's do it.
Facts, bro. Fact. And I could imagine how pissed off he was too, because some of the stuff was ridiculous. Some of the stuff was ridiculous, bro.
Yeah.
But this is a really great article, and for fans like us, this brings music to my ears. So
yeah.
Facts. All right. Let's get to the next topic here. So let's talk about some Sergeant Rock. So a report came out first last week that Sergeant Rock was canceled, and then a second report came out that the movie was just delayed, and it's just because right now they don't have the bandwidth to make that happen right now, and so the filming and stuff will be done next year. How do you feel about Sergeant Rock being pushed back as in regards to starting to film, et cetera, et cetera?
I don't mind. This isn't a movie I'm dying to see. I think it'll be cool, and when it comes out, I will be excited to actually go to the theater and see it, but it's not near the top of my list. I think Sergeant Rock is a cool character. I think fans will like him. I do think that this file will probably be well received, and yeah, but it's being delayed. I think it's a non-issue.
Yeah. So I think this does make sense. Look, with Supergirl and Lanterns, but by the way, I'm pretty sure the guy said that they got 4 episodes of Lanterns done already, which has me really excited. already 4 episodes done. So I do not, and so like, and look, and with those films coming out after Superman, or with those files coming out after Superman, I am not feeling this Sergeant Rock movie, bro. I'm not. I'm starting to feel the same way with Clayface. Yes, you can make sense of it, but I don't like taking a chance. And maybe this is my Marvel Studios PTSD, but I don't like taking a chance on side characters that don't need the chance to be taken. Like, I get why you want to do a dynamic duo because of the appeal of Robin and Nightwing, but with this movie, I don't care what it looks like. I think with the DC branding, a movie like it's going to be hard for a movie like this to be successful, because when you watch DC or Marvel, you expect to see a superhero story from the likes of a Batman all the way to a Green Arrow, all the way to anything. And look, yes, he has crossed over with Batman, but this character is based on a lot of like reality. And like, if I want realism, I'll watch Nolan. I'll watch the Batman. We were getting the Batman 2, which I think will fill the realism void for a lot of fans. So me personally, I really don't think we need this movie. I would like if Sergeant Rock could get put with another A-list character. And I personally don't care about, because the budget is low, the profits high. I just don't care. I really don't think that it can work with the DCU branding, because I mean, bro, imagine getting Superman, Supergirl, and Lanterns, and then Sergeant Rock. It's like, what the hell is this? So that's kind of how I feel, bro. I'm just not really feeling Sergeant Rock personally.
It's a fair point. It's probably a bit of a risk to it. Like, there's a limited bandwidth for attention for a lot of people. Not everyone's like us and is going to see every MCU and DCU movie, no matter what it is. And yeah, so it's a fair point. And maybe they need to think about things like that. Like, is this character important to waste a movie on?
Oh, 100%. All right, let's hit some chats real quick. So was Thunderbolts good? Thunderbolts, what was good? Sugar Wars was orange, I thought. I think I'll have to check the logo. Thanos and Doomsday will be so epic. Bro, I don't want Thanos in Doomsday, bro.
Yeah, I really don't. Like, we need to focus on Doctor Doom, and I feel like we have, and I'm not saying you don't read comics, but I think a lot of the Thanos hype comes from people who don't read comics and they've never seen a villain like Thanos. So there's so much hype for Thanos. And if you actually, a lot of people who do read comics are just so excited for Doctor Doom because we know how dope Doctor Doom is. Thanos, listen, I'm not saying I don't love him. I think he's a great villain, but we got to move on. It's 2025. Like, we haven't seen Thanos since 2019, and we don't need to see him again.
Yeah, if you bring him back, it's just going to hurt. It's going to hurt even more. I don't know if Thanos
can't. Again, there's the bandwidth. Like, that's an important thing.
People will complain if Marvel put out less content. I disagree, bro. Marvel wasn't his prime.
I think that no matter what Marvel does, there's always going to be some people that are going to complain about every decision they make. They got to do what they do right.
Here's the best way to do it. The universe is connected, but the IP is their own thing. Example, if you want to see a Batman 3 movie in the DC universe, you only need Batman 1 and 2.
You're cutting in and out again.
All right, can you read that chat, brother? I'm sorry. Can you read this chat?
I got it. I just wanted to scroll up so I could get to the... Okay. Here's the best way to do it. The universe is connected, but the IP is their own thing. Example, if you want to see a Batman 3 movie in a DC universe, you only need Batman 1 and 2 and not a League movie. I don't get what you're saying, Hungry. Do you understand this?
Hey, what do you say?
Here's the best way to do it. The universe is connected, but the IP is their own thing. Example, if you want to see a Batman 3 movie in a DC universe, you only need Batman 1 and 2. Oh, I think what he said. Okay, so you're saying, Hungry, you don't necessarily need a Justice League movie. You could just do Batman 1, 2, and 3. But, and just don't think that they're going to do this without doing a Justice League movie. That's the thing. That's like, I mean, imagine the MCU without Avengers movies.
Yeah, that's the icing on the cake, bro. You know, I mean, you can't. I mean, you can't dodge that. This is a Disney decision, focusing on putting out sequels and remakes just to make money. Anything that original film folks isn't going to give it a chance. Yeah, bro. And and that was the whole thing with Disney Plus. They were looking at theaters and they were like, "Yo, what if we just cut the theaters out and we make Disney Plus our own thing, right?" And that was the plan. Honestly, guys, I think that was a plan all along. And I think that COVID just sped up that idea. And I firmly believe that like that was a that was a test for a lot of these. Or I think that was a test that they had because Black Widow came out, I'm pretty sure, on Disney Plus first, and that strategy failed miserably. Not to mention ScarJo, I'm pretty sure sued them as well. So I really think they were being stingy, and they got bit in the butt for it. Post Secret Wars, Avengers, X-Men, F4, Spider-Man all stay separate. I call them the four pillars of Marvel. Separate to an extent, I agree. I personally think Marvel should do jumping on points at the beginning of each phase, like in the comics, and market those films like that. That would be very interesting. That would be different. Anthony Mackie is going to lead the Avengers, Doomsday, and Secret Wars fans need to get over it. My problem with Brave New World is it felt like Marvel was trying to make a Hawk movie rather than a Cat movie. I wish they actually used the Cat villain like the Serpent Society. That's weird, bro. I didn't feel that way, bro. I really felt like the movie focused on Sam. And honestly, I think Brave New World showed us that Sam is that Sam, number one, is a tactical planner, but also the whole end battle was him just fighting on the fly. You know, and to be a leader like of a team, you have to be able to improvise on the fly. And that whole final battle was him just with his wit.
Yeah, that was sick. And I think that a lot of people are starting to say things like this. I think that this was common when Brave New World was in theaters. People were saying that this felt like a sequel to the Hulk. And now with Thunderbolts, people are saying this feels like a sequel to Black Widow. I disagree on both strongly. I think that just because movies have like some of the same characters and it's a continuation in that story, it's a shared universe. So of course, if certain characters are in it, some of their past is going to be relevant in that movie. But you know, if we're going to go that way, we could technically say that, you know, Avengers is the real Iron Man 2.
Facts. Do you think Doomsday will have the same hype as Infinity War and Endgame? I personally don't think so because Thanos was so beautifully integrated in the Infinity Saga, whereas Doomsday seems more rushed.
I don't think it's just Thanos. I think it's that when you were going to see a Marvel movie pre-Endgame, you knew you were getting gold. Like you could bank on it being an amazing movie. And now we just go into the movies and hope it's good. And aside from that, the hot streak that Marvel had going into Infinity War and Endgame was insane. I mean, Civil War, Guardians of the Galaxy, I forget what the other ones. I think, let me see. Whatever, you get the point. And I think that we'll have a better idea of how it compares once we see Fantastic Four. But Ironheart's coming out too. So, but I don't think Ironheart's going to replicate the kind of, anticipation for the Avengers movies the way Civil War did. But I just don't think. I think even though Thunderbolts is going to go down as a W, and Fantastic Four likely will go down as a big W, I don't think it's going to be. I don't think you're going to be able to replicate what they had last time.
Yeah,
but Doc, I do think that even though people were hyped for Thanos, we didn't really see much of Thanos before Infinity War, and people are really hyped for Doctor Doom.
Yeah, we saw Thanos twice. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure we saw him twice before. But it was like just credit scenes of like a minute, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was in
And it
the end
wasn't
of
even,
because he was in.
and it
Was he
wasn't
in the
even
end of
Josh
Age of Ultron?
Brolin.
You said what?
It wasn't even Josh Brolin. The first time we saw him was in the mid post credit scene from Avengers, and it wasn't Josh Brolin. I don't think it was Josh Brolin until
Infinity War, right?
I think it was before Infinity War. But what were
Fine, I'll do it myself. That was so fire.
Okay, well, my chat GPT just blanked, so I'm not gonna. So yeah,
It's all good, bro. It's all good. Don't worry, man.
yeah.
Let's see. Just tuning in, boys. You know, I watched Thunderbolts on preview day and wasn't disappointed. Liked the movie, and I buy the new Avengers plot, but wish we had one or two more movies before Avengers 2.
Well, we do have one. We have Fantastic Four, and I think that's going to be. I think Fantastic Four is going to go down as like one of the best MCU movies ever. I really do.
I agree. All right, now let's get to some Doomsday stuff. Now, Chris Hemsworth, he just started filming on Avengers Doomsday. This is really big news, and we ended up seeing a photo with him, RDJ, and the gang. They also end up seeing Thunderbolts. They had their own private screening. So are you excited to see what the Russos do with Thor? You know, given the fact that he hasn't had the best track, after Endgame. So like, how do you feel about Thor coming back with them?
I think that the Russos are the only ones that could course correct on Thor properly. I don't think they could ever rectify Love and Thunder. I also think Ragnarok was like blasphemous. I hate that movie so much. Oh my god, you have no idea. And I do. It's just such a. It's the joke of Thor, and it's because people liked Ragnarok that we got Love and Thunder. So it drives me nuts. But yeah, I think. Listen, we know the Russos love Thor. I love Thor. I'm a big Thor guy, and I think that it's going to be awesome in Avengers Doomsday. He is such a great character. And I also can't wait to see him in Secret Wars, because if you've read Secret Wars, you know the Thors are crazy in Secret Wars.
Oh yeah, it's also wild because, and a lot of people don't talk about it, bro. Chris Hemsworth is one of the greatest comic book movie castings of all time. It's crazy, and he's been done dirty so bad,
100%.
bro. It's honestly a waste of talent because he's such a good actor.
Yeah.
Like I watch him in Extraction, I'm just in awe of the character that he is, and it's like the Russos and Hemsworth have this like vibe where they just get each other. So, and thank gosh that we're not gonna have Fat Thor. So I am really happy to see that. But I also hope that I hope he's like really. I want him to get a massive power increase. He was very powerful, and the wild thing is, in Love and Thunder, he was so OP, and the movie was so bad. It's hard to see through that, So I hope that we get some good stuff with Thor, man. Just shooting this out in there. Do you think Thor is going to die at the end of this thing?
It's a tough call because I think that they might want to give him a send-off, but maybe Marvel is like, maybe we should cool it on killing characters off this time around.
I agree. I think they're going to keep him. By the way, guys, Thor Dark World is a banger. Y'all should rewatch it. I rewatch that movie a lot. All right.
By the way, to back that point up, which I 100% agree, always love Thor Dark World, but lately it seems like fans revisit comic book movies and they grow and they look at them differently. Thor the Dark World, almost everyone I know who says they've rewatched it says they liked it. Age of Ultron's a big one. People did not like that one when it came out. Everyone now loves it. I know there are probably some others that I'm playing. TASM 2. There are definitely some others on that list. But the point being is revisit these movies, especially Thor Dark World, because that one is a banger. And When I see someone say Thor: Dark World is like the worst MCU movie, I just know that person has no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah. And this also might sound wild to y'all, but different phases of life also helps you view movies in a different way. Because I despised Ant-Man 1 when it first came out, but y'all gotta understand, I was like 11 years old. Like I was a young bull when Ant-Man came out. So,
I don't understand,
bro, I wanted to see Captain Thor. I didn't care about Ant-Man. And then what happened was when Ant-Man and the Wasp dropped, I was probably what, 19? You know, I was older, and when I rewatched Ant-Man 1, I loved it. You know what I mean? So that's
I
the other
love all
thing
the
about
Ant-Man movies.
rewatches. Oh yeah, it's a really good movie, bro. It's a really good movie.
It's just really tough to watch Quantumania now because it's just like, oh, we'll never have the glory of Kang.
Yeah. Yes. Somebody said that. Who was it? It was some guy. It's his movie nut on TikTok, but he said that he basically watches Loki right after Quantum just to help solve his hunger.
Yeah. That's funny.
Right. All right. Next topic here, Mr. Ryan Reynolds, man. He's been wrong one. Sorry. Mr. Ryan Reynolds, he's been hard at work, as it seems. Not sure if this cabinet, but Ryan Reynolds talked about Deadpool. Okay. And one of the things that he said, and last week we talked about how he said, he wants Deadpool to be a supporting character, but he also talked about the fact that he is currently writing a Deadpool and X-Men team up file, and that the file has not been pitched yet to Marvel Studios, but he's in the works of I guess he's with some certain writers and he's trying to work up something. Do you think that Deadpool needs a fourth movie? Like how do you feel about a Deadpool and X-Men team up movie?
So, first of all, they said that he hasn't even pitched this to Marvel yet. So he's writing this on his own, hoping it comes to fruition. It's very probable that nothing comes of this. Number one. Number two, I think we are going to see a Deadpool 4. I do think that his legal case could potentially table all of it. Like if it comes out that, which I'm not a celeb gossip guy. I never will be. I'll never understand like those pages that freak out over celebs all day, but whatever. But from my very limited knowledge, supposedly him and his wife, Blake Lively, allegedly did some very dirty things and were very deceptive and manipulative and tried to con the whole thing. If that comes to light, which it seems like a lot of people say already did, and this court case, it has a bad result for them, I don't think Disney is going to want to, but their hand may be forced because it is Disney and they're not going to want to, but they know they've fired Jonathan Majors. They fired other people. You can't hold that kind of standard and then give certain people a pass when not giving others. And again, we don't really, play when it comes to the race stuff. I think we're both pretty fair on that, but it's the optics of firing someone like Jonathan Majors, who was just getting a break in his career, and then not firing Ryan Reynolds, who's white and already really successful, could be really bad. So we'll see what happens with that. But aside from that, I do think Marvel wants to do another Deadpool and probably Deadpool and Wolverine movie because it did $1.3 billion and it was like this huge cultural moment. So why wouldn't they want to do another one? And it's not a hard movie to do because they didn't really need a big plot for Deadpool Wolverine. It wasn't really about the plot. It was just about the fact that everyone loves these characters and their chemistry together is so wildly entertaining. So I think that if Ryan Reynolds' court case has a result that won't give Disney bad optics, I say Deadpool and Wolverine sequel happens.
I agree. I don't want a Ryan Reynolds Deadpool and X-Men team up film. We've already gotten that with the first two, where we got to see a few people from the X-Men team jump on. We got freaking Cable, which I thought was awesome. Josh Brolin was awesome as Cable. I don't need this. I don't. A Deadpool and Wolverine 2 was good. Him maybe jumping in some movies, I'm fine with, and just leave it there. This feels very like The Rock, to me, and I'm saying like we're like Black Adam, The Rock, or like where The Rock tries to make his own moves. Like, no, that's not how this works. You can't just go in and just say, "Oh, no, this is not how it's gonna work, bro."
Yeah.
It's kind of like how in the NFL draft when Deion Sanders' son botched a bunch of his meetings, and then he thought that the New York Giants, my team, was going to draft him, but because he dudded the meeting, they didn't draft him, and he went from being a projected first round top 5 pick to going in the 5th round as the 144th pick. You know why? Because they had to teach him a lesson. We run this thing, and that's kind of how I feel. We can't have people putting their hands in the pot that much. Even RDJ is respectful when it comes to fighting him, and if he is, and he's the top of the crop, Ryan, get in line, bro.
Yeah, it's pretty. Also, it's kind of shocking that he told the public that he's writing this movie that he's never even pitched to them. It's almost like he's trying to get his foot in the door for the sequel to relieve his own anxiety about the implications of his current court case.
Yeah, 100%. It just like, I know that if you and I were co-CEOs of Marvel, right, and someone said that, you and I would immediately call each other and say, "What a douche!" Like if someone could do that and they didn't consult us, and you're getting fans hype about something that was never confirmed, we would be like, "What a douchebag this is!" You know what I mean? Like you're just trying to just run your little game.
And to like better paint the picture, imagine that this was Ben Affleck saying, "I am writing the script for Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 to the public." And all this was going on with Ben Affleck. What do you think Warner Brothers, how do you think Warner Brothers would react to that? Same kind of thing.
Exactly. Like that's just rude. Okay. Yeah.
It's very arrogant.
Facts. Let's see. Ragnarok is overrated and Thor 1 is underrated. I love Thor 1, by the way. Thor 1. Oh,
I love Thor 1. Oh, yeah. I love Thor 1. It's so good.
We'll be fired if we see Thor, Savage Hawk, and Sentry as the 3 powerhouses fighting Doom. Yeah, then Doom just one-shots all of them. That'd be funny. Incredible Hulk.
I want to see people like Spider-Man fight Doom. I want to see Reed fight Doom, Johnny, Storm. Now everyone's going to want to see Sentry fight everyone.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, a lot of people don't understand, bro. Yeah, Sentry is going to be the scapegoat now for everyone.
I am not going to let people revise history on Sentry, though.
Video coming soon. I need that, bro. I need that, John.
Yeah.
Green Lantern in 2011 gets way too much. Bro, that movie's not bad, bro. That movie is not bad.
It's not. It really isn't.
Hot take, but I don't see the hype of Deadpool teaming up with Spider-Man or X-Men. I could live without it. I agree.
100% agreed.
Ryan Reynolds looks like a fool on popular opinion. This is kind of greedy from Disney if they allow the drama. Yeah, bro. That whole stuff is a mess, bro.
I would call it greedy, but yeah, it would definitely be wild. Because supposedly the problem is that supposedly the discovery, which is like where they review the evidence and all that for the court case, supposedly they found in discovery that this whole thing with this other guy was a setup and they were behind it the whole time. That's why it looks so bad.
Yeah. It's a bad look, bro. It's a really bad look. And not to mention, Disney already has another high level case that they're dealing with, and that's with Shannon Sharp, because they own ESPN, and Shannon Sharp is dealing with his own legal issues as well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it's like Disney, bro, like they just can't catch a break with some of these actors, bro.
Yeah.
So if I was them, I would just grind out of it. Yeah, bro, it's ridiculous. Okay, and that's why we are not celebs, and you will never hear our drama. All right, now let's get to some Marvel Studios. So it has been reported, my brother, that the Marvel Studios team, aka Kevin Feige, has a 10-year plan for the X-Men. Obviously, for Kevin Feige, the X-Men is a very important thing to him because he did work on the X-Men films back in the day. So how do you feel knowing that Feige does have a plan for the X-Men and that, that they're really trying to get this thing right, it seems like?
Yeah, I think it's great. Listen, Kevin Feige having a 10-year plan is great because I think that when it came to the Infinity Saga, they didn't really have that much of a long-term plan. I think they always knew the direction they wanted to go, and they obviously set themselves up right with post-credit scenes for Thanos and the Infinity War, but they didn't really have a plan for post-Endgame 4, 5, and 6 phases. And when it comes to the X-Men, when you're going to have the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, the New Avengers, you really need a plan, especially when it comes to the X-Men, because there's so many of them, and it's just there's going to be such a big focus on them, like by default, that you really need the plan. And to hear that it's 10 years is like great, because that means it's super detailed and it's going to be really intricate. Like you don't have a 10-year plan and have that be vague. You know what I mean?
Oh, bro, they're trying to get everything. They're trying to milk it, and that's what we need. We need it to be milked. Same with the Fantastic Four too, bro. I hope that they milk the Fantastic Four for everything. Like, give us all Fantastic Four stories. So yeah, I think the 10-year plan is. I think the 10-year plan is smart, and a 10-year plan like this is needed, as you said, when handling such a big cast of people like Fantastic Four, or with people like the X-Men. And it is also fun to my brain thinking that we are going to get 10 years of consistent X-Men content, and the amount of projects that we could possibly get is insane. Not to mention, if Feige dives into the Jonathan Hickman X-Men stuff, you can really go there with this team, right? We already saw peak with X-Men 97. Just imagine what would just imagine what we are already going to get with a live action team. And and I'm not saying that this is a strategy that they're always going to do, but I do like how X-Men 97 was kind of like the so in the business world, right? There's a marketing strategy where they say, like, you want to digitally touch your you want to digitally reach out to your consumer, right? And just see what they react to, right? And whichever ad the customer likes, that's the ad that you push, right? So I feel like X-Men 97 for us, that was that first touch, right? That was that first ad that we saw and fans loved it. So I hope that Marvel Studios saw that, and and they can put some stuff from X-Men 97 into live action form for its fans. But I will say this: I hope that this cast is young. I really want a young team, and I really want to start with like darn near teenagers and work our way up to really growing with them as characters, because that's how I feel with Tom Holland. I really feel like we've been growing up with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I hope we have that same feel with the X-Men.
So they definitely got to test the waters with X-Men 97, and it seems like they are going to be using things from it, because the rumor is that the big bad for the first phase of the X-Men is going to be Mr. Sinister, who was in X-Men 97. And I think this is a great move. Mr. Sinister is a really cool villain, with the clones and everything. And when we see him, he also looks really cool. So, and it's different. It's not going to be like what they used in Fox X-Men at all, because we never saw Mr. Sinister in the Fox X-Men. I am curious to see which stories they're going to be pulling inspiration from, not adapting. Marvel doesn't do adaptations. But yeah, so I'm excited for this. I think it's great, and it's great that Kevin Feige is the one that has the 10-year plan.
Yeah, and my hope is that they do pull from Hickman. I pray, because of the fact that I do think Hickman's X-Men stories are just different, and I think those stories we haven't really seen on screen. And like I don't want to see another Phoenix. Like, I don't want to see another Phoenix, Dark Phoenix movie. Like we've gotten two of them. You know, there's other, and this is what, and I think that with Hickman's comics, you can do things with Professor X that's never been done before as well. Like I just think you can take the characters to a really interesting place. So yeah, I mean, and then with the potential of getting like Avengers versus X-Men inspired movie and stuff like that, it's gonna be a fun time for us fans. And like this is why I'm excited, guys, to have a son, because my son is gonna be like probably like towards the end of those 10 years, he'll be like around 10. So then Jerry and I get so then we're gonna go to uncle's house and he's gonna show us everything and we're gonna sit on your Dolby Atmos. We're gonna watch everything.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
So nah, bro, it's gonna be a fun time. It's gonna be a fun time.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Oh man, there's nothing like being a kid and going to see a superhero movie in the theaters.
Right?
The best time in the world. Yeah,
100%.
yeah. That was like, even when I went to sleepaway camp, I was like freaking out. I was like, "We got to see Spider-Man 2. We got to see Spider-Man 2." And my dad sent up the bootleg, and I had watched it. And then they finally took us to see it, but I had already seen the bootleg.
That's hilarious, bro. Yo, bro, that's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
That's crazy, bro. And that's maybe like I think, and there, I think the X-Men, bro. I think the kids are really gonna love the X-Men. I really think they're gonna latch on to these characters super hard.
I grew up with X-Men the animated series, so when the Fox X-Men movies came out, I was a huge fan, and everyone loved Wolverine. Wolverine was always the most popular, and he still is. I saw Hungry's comment about which X-Men could have a solo movie. I think that there's more than Wolverine and who was the other one he said? Magneto. Obviously, I think those are probably the best to do a solo movie, but I think you could do a solo movie around Storm. I think you could do Cyclops might be a little more difficult. I think a lot of fans would say they wanted it, but I think Cyclops would work better as a team. Gambit, you could probably do one by himself. I just think Cyclops is just like, he's just the kind of character that goes well with other characters. And I think most of his style, most of his character comes from the chemistry with other characters and how he is a leader. And Captain America is a little different, but yeah, I don't know.
What is hilarious is, by the way, that was a perfect. Well, wait, like what you said was just a really great way to describe.
What about Cyclops?
Yeah, like I never thought about that. That's a really great point, actually, bro. You just cooked right there. Not saying that you didn't know. You always cook, but the funny thing is,
Thank you.
Of course, the funny thing is, I think, and not saying that this is right, I think a lot of people are going to say that about Sam because they're not going to say that Sam can hold his own film. But what you said about Cyclops, I think a lot of people are going to say about Sam after these next films.
That's a great point. It's a great point. I wish more fans did like the movie. I thought it was a good movie. I also think that people are really influenced, and I think it's volatile. And volatile just means something can go up or down really quickly. And I think that it's something I always wanted to look into because I think our comic book movie fandom is so heavily influenced, and a lot of fans just don't think for themselves. And you see that with movies like The Flash. Like I always say, when we saw the sneak preview, people were at the edge of their seats, reacting, loving it the entire movie. And then it came out and everyone hated it. I think that fans were very influenced to overlove Deadpool and Wolverine. And I think fans were very influenced to not like Brave New World. And I think Brave New World was a good movie. I really do. And I think in time, I think that movie might grow on people. I don't know. I also think that Ant-Man Quantumania was something that people were influenced. I think, and mainly with that one, I think Kang getting beaten by ants, like the way that played out on social media, really hurt the way fans saw the movie. And I think that, like, I don't know, if you follow politics at all, you're already so familiar with how people just don't think for themselves. And I'm seeing it more and more in our movie fandom, and it's horrible.
Yeah, I think Thunderbolts is also going to age very well too, like in the streaming world. I really think that that's going to be a big rewatch for a lot of people.
I also
really
think though fans were ready to like Thunderbolts because the rumors were, even before they did the fan screenings, like everyone was saying Thunderbolts is great. Everyone that saw it said that was going online, and people were like, "Oh, Thunderbolts is actually great." And I think that people were people were ready to like Thunderbolts before it came out. I think people were ready to dislike Captain America before it came out. And I think fans were ready to dislike Flash before it came out, because I think Hungry even touched on it. He said Flash was an amazing movie, and the problem with it was Ezra. I think if it was a different actor in the role, the numbers would have been different. It's not just the numbers, it's also the reception. And I think that it's a big part of it. But I also think it was the Snyder DC thing. Like, there were a couple things working against it. And I think it's similar with Captain America Brave New World. I think that a lot of fans didn't want to like Sam Wilson as Captain America because of racism. I think a lot of fans didn't want to like a movie with a Jewish Israeli hero because of anti-Semitism. And I think the big thing in that one though was I think a lot of fans didn't want to like a black guy taking out the shield. And I think it's horrible because I think the movie was great. And I think it's so unfair that this movie was received incorrectly because of that. And if you know me, I'm not someone who just says that to say it. I know a lot of people, will blame things on certain things but I really do think it with that movie, because I think it's a good movie. I think he's a great character. I think he's a great actor. And I just think people never really gave it a fair chance. And, it's funny because when a movie is bad or when a movie is received poorly, people will always talk about the pacing or the CGI. And then when a movie's good, if it has bad CGI, no one talks about it. And when I see people talking about pacing, I just know they usually don't know what they're talking about, because pacing was never a thing up until a couple years ago. And yes, pacing can be real, but people just, when they don't like a movie, they try to sound smart because they don't even know. If you double click on it and say, what do you mean by pacing? Where was the pacing bad? They couldn't even tell you. I could tell you, like Dan Slott, Fantastic Four, when I tried to read that run, I read like the first 2 or 3 issues. I didn't like it because it was such a grand battle and it felt like the stakes were unimportant because they didn't build up to this large battle. And I was like, that pacing is poor. It's weak. But, I don't know, listen, it's what I think. And, I always keep it 100. But, yeah, I hope that Sam – shines in the next movies. And it seems like he will, because they're saying he's going to be the leader. Well, they're not saying, they alluded to it in the post-credit of Thunderbolts, that he's going to be the leader of the Avengers. And I think that people are going to be really bought into these Avengers movies because of Thunderbolts, because of Fantastic Four. And I think Sam's really going to deliver as the leader. And I hope when that happens, people revisit Captain America Brave New World and give it another chance and a fair chance, because it's a good movie. Listen, I'm not saying it's an amazing movie. I'm not saying it's one of the best MCU movies ever, but it's a good movie. And if you're just watching it and giving it your fair, honest opinion, I think you'll enjoy it.
Yep. And if you want to learn about pacing, watch the greatest paced movie I've ever seen was The Dark Knight. That's probably the greatest paced film ever. And if you wanna watch a movie and if you want to learn about how film structure works, from setup, confrontation, resolution, the peaks and valleys, Dark Knight is probably the perfect movie to watch. When I was in acting class, like, I learned about that when I was at like the art school. You know what I mean? And like when you watch, and Christopher Nolan is the greatest pacing director we have ever seen. If you watch Oppenheimer, if you watch all of his movies, that man knows how to take you on a journey. And it is very few people that know how to do stuff like that. Just saying.
What's crazy about that is I remember when The Dark Knight first came out, and I was just like, wow, this movie is so fast. It's so cool how it works. And I remember a couple months ago, I was actually asking ChatGPT about it because I realized one of the things he did, and I'm sure he has a number of techniques, but one of them I realized on my own. When a scene changes, usually like they'll have like one frame of the outside of the building, and then they'll go into the building in the room. Yeah. He didn't do those transitional shots because he wanted you to feel like an adrenaline rush that it would have felt like dealing with the Joker.
100%. And that's why Batman Begins is my favorite out of the three, mostly because the pacing of the movie changes based on the setting that he's in. So when he's with Ra's al Ghul, the pacing is super fast, but the second he gets to Gotham, it is really the consistent thing that Nolan does. The second Batman gets to Gotham, it's like the perfect balance pacing. But whenever he's outside of Gotham, the pacing is super fast. Like Nolan is a genius, bro. He is a freaking genius. This is coming from someone that I have my critiques about it, but the movie's freaking great, man. I've kind of been forced to watch it because some of my students like it. So, and I'm just sitting here like, man, what a great movie, bro.
About The Dark Knight or about just Batman Begins?
I'll talk about the Dark Knight. It's just like
you do like it now.
It's growing on me. Look, I still have my critiques, but my critiques don't overtake, like I'm not going to diss greatness. You know what I mean? He's great,
able
bro.
To take a step back and see things without your point of view. And that's what sometimes I think people need to do that with everything. It's like, but it's crazy.
Yeah.
Not everyone's capable of doing it.
Yeah. And the one thing that I kind of held myself accountable for, bro, is like, I don't want to miss greatness because I'm so caught up in my personal critiques. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I felt. Like, I feel like I wasn't enjoying The Dark Knight because I was mad about something. It's like, no. Let me enjoy this greatness, bro. Like, someone's going to make the Batman I want. Let me enjoy this Batman here. That's kind of been my take with The Dark Knight.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Like, bro, that's kind of almost like me with the MCU Spider-Man. It's not the kind of Spider-Man I am, like, craving to see, but I still love it. I still know they're great movies,
Exactly, bro.
Spider-Man No Way Home, every day I like that movie more and more. The more I think about it, it's so good. Awesome. Like all my criticisms, even my big criticism about it, which is that none of the villains were from Peter's universe. But I rewatched it recently and I realized that the third act couldn't have been what it was if it wasn't the villains from Toby and Andrew's universe. It had to be that way. And it took a while for me to see it that way.
Yeah. Great take, bro. Great take. But this is why we are the best in the business, because I will tell you when my biases, take over. I mean, I will. I mean, so like if something's great, it's great, bro. It doesn't matter what the freaking bias is. So, all right. Now, guys, we got 3 more topics, or we have 2 more topics after this, and then we will be out of here. But let's talk about Kang Dynasty. Let's revisit it. So Kang Dynasty was supposed to come out last Thursday. We weren't supposed to be seeing Thunderbolts. We were supposed to be seeing Kang Dynasty with Jonathan Majors. And not gonna hold you, bro. Like I did a TikTok about it, and I was walking on King Street in Charleston. I kind of got sad. Like actually, like I was just looking at fan arts and stuff, bro. And I was like, dang, man, we really missed out on probably one of the what could have been the greatest villain casting of all time. So how do you feel knowing that we'll never get Kang Dynasty, at least for the foreseeable future? Because I know you were also like heard about this whole thing too. You actually are probably more hurt than I am, to be honest. About
I love Kang, man. I really wanted to see like, I just think the time travel concept and, is so cool. And the reason that it's so cool with Kang is that, number one, he uses time as a weapon. And number two, he's traveled so much through time that he has different versions of his character. Because think about it, if you traveled so much through so much time, like, you evolve as a person. Well, he evolves as a villain through different eras. And, like, I don't know, I just thought, like, that in the MCU was going to be so cool. And unfortunately, Marvel had to part ways with Jonathan Majors. But, a lot of people say that it wasn't really that. A lot of people say that them firing Jonathan Majors wasn't what made them want to abandon Kang in the first place. A lot of people think that Kang's hype just didn't work for them after Ant-Man Quantumania, which may be true. But either way, we don't have Kang Dynasty. And I'm looking forward to Doomsday. I love Doctor Doom. So if there is anyone they could have replaced Kang with, it was Doctor Doom. But it is crazy that we lost out on Avengers Kang Dynasty with Jonathan Majors, because he was going to crush it. He was going to crush it.
I agree, bro. And, like, the whole entire Victor Timely stuff in Loki was phenomenal. Phenomenal. And then when Loki ends up learning how to control time, and then him and King are having a conversation, and, like, he's like, oh, so you finally figured it out, and he's eating an apple. It's just like Jonathan Majors was just, man, perfect as King the Conqueror. And, like, if you guys might think I'm crazy, but if I was handed, like, a crystal ball and I was able to go and watch King Dynasty, I would have chosen that over Doomsday. I'm just gonna be honest. And more so because I believed that Jonathan Majors was going to be the greatest villain ever. I really did. I really wholeheartedly believe it. And yes, I said, I mean, Doom was, and bro, just imagine if we did get the King Dynasty and then Dr. Doom came in that next movie. That would have been insane. And if it was RDJ Doom that took out Jonathan Majors, King the Conqueror, bro, that would have been crazy.
That's the thing. We were going to get the best of both worlds, because we knew with Secret Wars Doom was coming, and we could have gotten, I probably would have chose King Dynasty too.
Yeah. And bro, just imagine this. Imagine Jonathan Majors King and RDJ Doom just flowing off each other for like half a movie or whatever. I mean, dude, goodness gracious. So yeah, it sucks. But it happens. It's life. Hopefully we'll get something later on. All right. Now, let's talk about Mr. Claremont. So Marvel Comics writer Chris Claremont was doing a panel, and he claimed the upcoming Avengers film will feature, number one, the return of Psylocke, number two, Wolverine killing someone important, number three, Elizabeth Olsen as a good Scarlet Witch, number four, Robert Downey Jr. as multiple characters, and including Iron Man, and number five, Chris Evans as multiple characters, including a young and a evil Captain America. So, how did you feel when you saw this? When you saw this article pop up about Mr. Chris yapping?
I was like, Kevin Feige approved this, and but the more I thought about it, I thought Kevin Feige approved Chris Claremont saying this, but that doesn't necessarily mean all of this is true. It could be a diversion tactic from Marvel. It's been confirmed that Marvel leaks fake information to throw fans off on what to expect in their movies, and that could very well be the case. However, I was not, on my initial take, I was like, I'm not surprised, because I already predicted a lot of this stuff. I predicted that Robert Downey Jr. is coming back as Iron Man. I predicted that Chris Evans is coming back as Captain America. And the reason I predicted this is because if they are bringing back all the Fox X-Men, and they're bringing back anyone and everyone, and they already have RDJ and Chris Evans back working with them again, why wouldn't they bring back Iron Man and Chris Evans? They want to bring back old characters because those old characters sell tickets. The two biggest actors, the two biggest characters, you have both their actors working with you. Why wouldn't you do it? It makes no sense. So of course they're doing it.
1,000%. And it's funny because when I made the TikTok and I literally said just as my co-host says, this was on purpose. There's no way this is an accident, bro. No, nothing done. Even those concept arts, there's no way you accidentally upload a file. Like that takes a lot of work to upload a public file. Just saying.
Yeah.
There's no accident upload of not nowadays. How you have so many options. Are you sure you want to post this? Are you sure you want to share? Come on, bro. Even when I post my
Shannon Sharp filming himself with a woman.
Yeah, like you know how long it takes? Like, yo, how many steps it takes to go live? Like, come on, dog. You can't fool me. Can't fool me.
Yeah.
So yeah, but nah, I think all this stuff is dope. I think Psylocke's cool, but I am excited about Chris Evans coming back and RDJ playing more than one character. What other variants is he going to play? That's what I'm also excited to see. Seeing Steve Rogers come back. It's going to be funny seeing him, Bucky, and Sam. And I will even put John Walker in that area as well. We will talk about this next week because I have a few questions to ask you about the super soldier serum as well. Totally forgot to talk about that, but because there was a question that popped up. I didn't know the answer, so I'm gonna shoot it your way offline. Yeah. But all of this Claremont stuff seems dope. I hope it's all true, and Jerry did call it, so per usual. I mean, guys, this is nothing new, bro. It's not new. So now I'm really excited though to hear this though. And look, yes, of course, Elizabeth Olsen is in this movie. They're gonna put all their big hitters in this. It just makes sense, bro. It makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. And of course, they're gonna bring back Elizabeth Olsen because they know she has a huge following. Like they want to sell those tickets.
1,000%. 1,000%. All right, now the last topic of the night, guys.
And by the way, real quick, as much as they all want to sell those tickets, they hired the Russos to make it all work, so they're not just doing gimmicks. And hopefully, the Russos pull it off like they did before. If there's anyone that could do it, it's them.
Oh yeah. Now, last topic to close the night, and then after that, last topic, there's a few things that I want to say about just some things that are being added because Jerry and I do want to innovate our channel more and try to get more contact with y'all. So Jerry hit me about some stuff, so I want to tell you what we're going to be doing, which I'm really excited about. So let's talk about Logan. Okay, so you put a hot take out, which had me laughing because I was like, oh, whenever I see the word hot take, I just start sweating. I'm like, oh, here we go, bro. Like, what is he going to say today? What is he going to say today, bro? Dude, I was getting stressed out. I'm like, oh god. Well, no, because it's funny because nothing is more hilarious than like when the hot takes where like I won't see it for like 3 days because then the comments start flowing and then I check the threads. Yeah. It's like 80 comments. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, he's just lighting them up today. So you put out a hot take.
You don't like it? You don't like it when I go at the people in the comments?
Oh no, I love it. But no. I just laugh because like I'm the type of person where I'll sit and read every comment. So it's like
okay,
yeah. So it's like It's like
I don't know if you've seen my threads over the past couple of days, but I got 1.5 million views
I saw,
over the past 30 days.
You've been cooking, bro.
That was yesterday. Yesterday it was at 1.1. Today it's at 1.5 mil.
Bro, don't stop, bro. Don't stop. Follow him. Follow Comic Cuts on Threads, man.
Yeah,
he's doing his thing.
I still don't have a lot of followers, but they're coming in. So anyway. Logan is overrated. Logan sucks. Okay, Logan is garbage. I always see best comic book movies ever, and when I see Logan on it, I'm like, what are you talking about? That movie sucked. I think that fans thought it was really cool because it starts off and he's buying Percocets or Oxy or whatever, and they're like, oh, this is dark. This is cool. Listen, I'm sober. Okay. It's not cool. Let me tell you another thing. The whole, fight against the clones or whatever, and him, with the X-23 and that group of mutant kids, that was whack. I don't know. I just didn't like the movie. I thought it was boring. I didn't think it was cool. X-Men Origins Wolverine is better than Logan. It's not a good movie.
I agree. It's funny, bro. I didn't even like Wolverine 2. I thought I didn't like Wolverine 2 either. Didn't like Logan as well.
Wolverine 2 was okay, but I didn't think it was great. I don't think I've rewatched that in a really long time, though, so I might be wrong on that. But
Yeah.
I like the first one. I thought the first one was good.
X-Men Origins is hard. I love that movie, bro. I love that movie.
Me too.
Yeah. So number one, I hate superheroes who don't wear their costumes. I say this all the time. I think it was the weirdest ending, given the events that happened with the X-Men. I feel like Days of Future Past was the perfect ending for Logan because he saves the Fox universe. So why don't you end him as the savior of the Fox universe, and then you go and focus on your X-Men team with freaking let's call it with James McAvoy and his old crew, like why don't you do that? And you did, and Days of Future Past was the perfect way of honoring the old with the new. We had Hugh Jackman going back in time and with Fast B and McAvoy and with Mystique and all these characters, right? Like they perfectly set it up, and then you just don't care. You literally just don't care, and you put out this movie for what? And yes, audiences liked it, but it is garbage. And I don't think that this movie is rewatched a lot. I wish that we could find some stat. Not sure if there's some stat for it, but I don't like when I'm talking to people about superhero films, I never hear Logan. I never do.
It's only on Twitter. And, I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of crap top comic book movie lists lately. But Logan's on there a lot, which is like, or there's like pick one to delete forever. And they're like 3 of the like undisputed goats. And, it'll be like Spider-Man 2, The Dark Knight, Winter Soldier, and then Logan. And it's like, obviously you're going to delete Logan. Like, why is Logan even compared to these 3?
100%. So yeah, bro. Nah, that was a really great take. So, all right, y'all. What a great show. I want to tell us something real fast before we get out of here. So, we want to make it accessible to where if you guys have any questions, you're able to access us and ask questions throughout like any time of the day. And we're either going to do like a separate stream or add some of those things on our podcast. So I am working on a Google form, which will be linked in our YouTube channel tomorrow, where you guys will be able to press that link and then enter any questions so that we can be able to see those, questions and answer them and make content about them and have fun, et cetera, et cetera. And then the second thing, I'm not trying to coerce you at all, but we do have paid subs as well. And right now, what I'm doing on our paid subs is I'm doing a road to Doomsday, where basically I'm doing a plot detailed breakdown of every MCU film leading up to Doomsday. So if you want to jump on that, you can jump on that as well. But there are some things that are free that you guys need to take advantage of, which is Comic Cuts threads. You guys might not think it's serious. I do. He drops a lot of gems, and like I learn a lot from his post on X and threads. Like he just put out a post about Black Widow the other day, which is going to make me rewatch it, because a lot of people did doubt that movie, and seeing Thunderbolts, it's like, oh, I need to go and rewatch it again. So like, there's a lot of good things that are being put out by both of us on content. So please follow us on X, Instagram, and threads at Comic Cuts, at Superherocuts too. Check it.
And the question thing, if you are, hanging around and it's like at night and you're, relaxing, watching TV or can't sleep, and you think of something about, a comic book or a comic book movie and you have a question, you could now submit it at that time when you think about it, and we will either get back to you soon or we'll put it on the podcast. And, but that way you won't forget your questions, and all your questions you think of throughout the course of the week we'll touch on in some way or form.
Exactly. And like, and like that was a great idea from the minds of Comic Cuts, because like you got to understand, bro, this is all we do. all we do is talk about
Yeah.
superheroes, but also like we're also thinking of ways
Period.
to like communicate with you guys as well to have fun. So we thank you guys for jumping on. We hope you guys have a good night and peace out, y'all.